I think if it wasn't for the persistence of the attorney and the reporter, and of course the support of the family, what would have happened?
Roy, have you ever considered what might have happened if you didn't have the help and support of those who were on your side?
Yeah, I wouldn't have lived that long to get out of prison, that's for sure. 'Cause I only had a couple of months before my liver gave out. So every moment was crucial because you can't get a transplant when you're incarcerated. There are no transplants for inmates. That's one step they don't take. So I definitely would not be here today. I was out of time. I gave up on getting out. You know, when you run down to the last end days of your life, you want to solve everything, and you want to close all them loose doors. And proving my innocence was number one. Being alive today was way beyond my expectations of life. So I had one goal then. That was my first thing to do, and I'm very blessed to be here today.
I would just throw in on that when we were driving here today, Roy and I were talking about how from the first time we met in the prison, in that prison waiting room, we never would have guessed. I mean, I can't tell you how amazed I am to be sitting here with Roy today, because his health was in such a fragile state at that point that I couldn't even have imagined that he and I could be sitting here. And it actually chokes me up a little bit to be able to sit here with Roy and see his story, because we really didn't know if that was going to be able to happen. You know, that he truly, you know, it was the work of every one of his attorneys, and Jim Kenyon was very important in the story, and I think, you know, that Roy's alive today, literally.
Alex, you can go ahead and take that microphone right out of the stand if you'd like. It might be easier. We have a question right here.
I was surprised the other day to find that many of the exonerated sentences, while they were exonerated, their records were not expunged. Has yours been?
Oh, yes. That's the first thing they took care of.
Okay.
So.
And also, now you're suing for compensation. Did you get anything
Nothing.
on your release?
Not a penny. I got Social Security right now. They're going to cut that out, I think, but they gave me Social Security and Medicaid, but that was it. So that's just the usual state thing.
Yeah. Did you have a question down here? Somebody? Question? Okay, come right here.
How does this change your view on the criminal justice system?
Oh, jeez. Hey, well, it didn't, because I always knew it was like that. I complained all my life about the way I seen things. Not just the criminal justice system, a lot of politics, a lot of wars, a lot of people starving around the world and people overeating in other places. I can just see what's wrong by looking at it. You don't got to be a genius. And it's only a very, you know, it's not that I'm against the justice system. There's a few people in there that mess it up, because it's a good system if everybody follows the rules. And every now and then you get one bad cop, you won't get one bad district attorney. In my case, we got some bad cops and some bad district attorneys and a judge, and it's still happening.
Here you go.
Mr. Brown, what happened to the convict that made the false statement against you?
Pardon me?
The jailhouse informant that made the false statement
that
against
guy, I'm still looking for him.
I hear you, brother.
Yeah, I'm still looking for, you know, we wanted to subpoena him in the court, hook him up to a polygraph machine. Well, they still say they can't find him. They don't know where he's at, you know. But yeah, I'd like to know what happened to him myself. If you hear, get a hold of me. You know. I'd like to see him charged though for perjury. He was picked up on like 8 felony charges. He was looking at 30 years in jail. One day he was in the newspaper as a wanted, captured criminal, and the next day he was a key witness in my murder trial. Go figure.
One of the things we just ran out of time and didn't get to include, the night of Gordon Wiggins' arrest, somehow the chief district attorney happened to be brought in and consulted on what was an incredibly minor charge. shortly after Gordon Wiggins was brought in. Seemed suspicious at the time. It came out later in paperwork for why, they would be consulting and interviewing on a very, very minor, I believe it was a misdemeanor charge, the night of the arrest.
Okay, right over here.
Roy, what kept your perseverance in prison? That's a long time to be convicted and not be guilty and persevere every day. Was it your faith or?
It's God, man.
Yes.
It's obvious it's God.
I thought
Because,
so. It had to be.
There ain't nothing else can hold you up through that.
We have a question right up here.
Roy, I think the thing that strikes me the most is the arrogance and the abuse by the new, freshly minted district attorney. I mean, it's like some youngster who wants to prove his mettle, and he just stuck it to you because he didn't want to look bad. And he didn't have the courage to say, I'm wrong, we don't know who the killer is, we'll go do a better job. And and I'm old now, and I've just seen this all my life, is you put young people in power, and they just screw up. And that guy, he should have just said right from the get-go, hey, I was dead wrong, I jumped to the wrong conclusions, I convicted the wrong man, I screwed up. He never said that all the way through that film, and then he parlays it into a job in the Justice Department. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, this guy, Vargason, before he was even elected, he was running in his campaign against the district attorney, and he said that if he was elected, he told a reporter if he was elected, he would guarantee that he would convict me of that murder. And when the reporter asked him if he's seen the case file yet, he said no, but I'm willing to take a look at it.
Alex, you seem to be involved with Roy's case almost from the very start. Can you tell us how you got involved with first encountering Roy and what inspired you to make that the film?
Yeah, it's in my day job. I also work at WSTM in Syracuse, and in getting to know Jim Kenyon, Jim and I we were going on a long car drive somewhere, I think up in the North Country, and we were just talking about interesting stories. And I had known a little bit of Roy's story, and this is years back. And Jim and I got to talking about it. We're both getting more worked up, and and in the course of that, I said, Jim, I said, I think there's a longer form project to be done here. And I went to Roy's attorneys. I went to Katie Karlovitz, who was very supportive of the idea. She was supportive of the idea. At the time, Roy's case looked pretty grim, but it was, we felt it was an important story to tell regardless of the outcome. I mean, that Roy's story and the very nature of that first trial raises serious questions about the justice system. And, we just decided to go with it, and we told Katie Karlovitz and Roy very early on we were going to go with it, and we were going to go with it wherever it took us. And it was a pretty wild ride. It was just fascinating. I mean, getting to meet Roy, we met in the waiting room of Elmira Prison. And I even then, could have never predicted some of the things that were going to happen and where it was all going to go. And for everyone who worked on it, my co-director Andy Wolf and the photographers, it was really just a story that we just thought should be told.
Larry, did you have something you wanted to add? You were tapping your mic. I didn't know if you had a question.
No, I wanted to see that the mic was on, but I have to say that there were a number of things that were very troubling to me in Roy's story, and they have been since I first learned of Roy's story. And I would agree with you. I saw significant arrogance on the part of the district attorney, and almost seemingly a refusal to believe the only possible killer of Sabina right to the very end. I mean, he now talks about it as possible or likely that she did it. He was positive that Roy did it when he had no evidence, but when he's got all of the physical evidence in the world, he's now back to a position where, well, it's possible that Barry Bench did this. That was certainly troubling to me, but as an attorney, what really is troubling to me, and one of the reasons that we are having these programs to try to promote some kind of public awareness, is all of the hurdles that Roy had to jump through to get where he is today. I mean, there were indications years ago that right from the beginning there were indications that Roy was possibly not the killer, and at a certain point, obviously not the killer. And it's disheartening to me as an attorney that our system, or some judges within the system, or some district attorneys or public officials within the system, throw these hurdles in front of you. I think this is a thread that we saw also with our other exoneree earlier in the week, with those of you who were here, Alan Newton, who spent 22 years in prison. After 11 years, sought DNA testing, and it took 11 years before a district attorney was able to find the file so that they could do the testing that ultimately set him free. The hurdles are monumental, and we really have to do something, and it's the public demanding that we do something that will cause the kind of change that's needed with the system. But I'm sorry, I didn't want to, but this was probably the best time to interject that comment.
Just on a lighter note, have you recorded any of your music?
Oh, as a matter of fact, yeah, I played a concert last month, and some old friends of mine, an old band I had when I was younger, came down and backed me up, some good musicians. So I just got to find a studio, I think, because...
Nothing available for sale yet? Or?
Well, they're mixing the CD now, so I pretty much play live, you know. I go to, well, now it's cold outside, so because I go over to the park and I can make some money over there in tips. So that's what I do, but it gets cold outside now, so now I got to find a place to play inside.
All right,
so
thanks.
But there'll be something coming soon.
In that regard, I think you all should know that when Roy appeared on Law Day, it was in front of 275 people at the Radisson Hotel at a luncheon, and he mentioned the music, and someone said, oh, could you play something for us? And Raina, his girlfriend, who is here today, just happened to have his guitar handy, and he did us the honor of playing an absolutely beautiful, moving, emotional song. And I'm hoping that I'm hoping you brought the guitar again today, and hoping before we leave that you might be able to hear a little sample of Roy's music.
I think that would be a nice way to close out the session, but we do have a question right here.
I was here Wednesday evening also, and I think what I took away was the awareness that there are these flaws in our system, but what can we do, and who do we approach about this? I mean, I guess that's my question. I mean, it certainly needs to be fixed.
Well, that's the road we're on. I think the public awareness is an important thing. And when you just take a look at there's a lot of innocent people I left behind. And you take a look at just the cases with just DNA, there's a lot of cases of people that are incarcerated for crimes because 3 drug addicts said that he was the one that broke into the house and stole the TV set. That's all it takes. And there's so many, and not everybody in jail is innocent, but believe me, when they start telling you that 4 to 8%, that's the federal government's statistics, are innocent just alone, that's 350,000 people. That's a lot of innocent people in jail.
This might be
a families.
Nice place to make a plug for the Innocence Project and their work. If any of you are interested in ways that you can help, theinnocenceproject.org is the best place to find that information. I'm going to come over to you in just a moment so you can tell your story, but I'm going to hand the microphone off to Mr. Getnick.
One point, Larry, you just made very, very well, and that is the concept of innocent until proven guilty. And the way you just described the district attorney's respect for the person whose DNA was found as compared to the lack of respect for yourself, and then what you had said relative to before he was even being elected, that he was going to make sure that you got your desserts, not your just desserts, but your desserts, really comes home. The other thing is I wanted to thank you for this being your second appearance, because the Law Day program that Larry mentioned, you had an effect on the lives of not just the lawyers and the judges, but the high school students that were there, the teachers that were there, and so this is your second time back to Oneida County, so we owe you a vote of thanks for that. And then I also want to thank Larry and the Oneida County Bar Association and Bob Mortis for the Munson Williams for putting on this project. And then just in partial answer to the question that was raised here, the New York State Bar Association does have a task force now, and what they're doing is they are looking at 50 exonerees. So they have those cases. These people have already been exonerated, to find out what went wrong in those cases, and then to propose legislation and to try to teach best practices to the defense attorneys and the district attorneys. So hopefully, the steps are being made, but this is a wonderful start. And again, thank you for your second appearance in Oneida County.
Thank you. One of the things the Innocence Project has been doing and pursuing is trying to make an Innocence Commission where cases can be reviewed. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of attorneys. But if it takes all that to get an innocent guy out of jail, then that's what we should be doing before we go build any more rockets or anything else.
I'd like to introduce you to someone who's been with us every day. Mrs. Barnes, why don't you tell us your side of the story?
My name is Sylvia Barnes, and my son Stephen Barnes has been incarcerated for 19 years and 5 months for a murder he didn't commit. I have never been ashamed of my son, but I'm very ashamed of our judicial system that this happens. Thankfully, the Innocent Project in New York has taken on my son's case, and the Oneida County District Attorney has released the evidence, and it's now in testing. I also have to tell you that when a person in your family is incarcerated, your whole family is incarcerated. It affects your children, your entire family. You don't enjoy anything. It's the first thing you think about when you wake up. It's the last thing you think about when you get home at night, before you go to bed. And I'm congratulating you on your exoneration, and I hope and pray that my son is the next one on the stage to join you. Thank you.
I want to wind things up a little bit, but I just do want to remind everyone that Roy and Alex are going to be at our reception at Fountain Elms down at the Follow the Glass hallway down, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any of your more individual questions. What I'd really like to end with is asking Roy if he would mind giving us one of his songs.
Unplanned set you got here.
We're improvisational that way.
Stayed in tune through the whole car ride, which is pretty good. It's a song about being kind of in prison or lost in the ocean, swimming without a boat. But it's how he really made it through it all.
Some time now, I've been lost at sea. Party hardy, stop searching for me. Heaven help me, take my soul to sea. Crashing upon me, comes another wave. I'm swimming with it. Till my heart is full, I know when to rock. When I should go, I'm swimming with it. If it's gonna be a little peace and love, I've got faith. Yes, you know, there's gotta be a God above. God's great sky, angels around me, is it my time to die? Yes, you know, I'm out here lost at sea. Funny thing, doesn't really bother me. I'm swimming with it. It's in my heart and soul. I know when to rock. When I should go, I'm swimming with it. That there's gonna be a little peace and love. I've got faith. Yes, you know, there's a God above.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased that the art of innocence has concluded with the art of one of the innocent. Please join us over at Fountain Elms. There's quite a bit of cheese over there that needs to be eaten. And I'm sure Roy and Alex would be happy to continue discussing the situations that they're in. And if you have any questions about the Innocence Project, I'm sure they can direct you in the right direction as well. Thank you all for coming.